Welcome to the U-Turn podcast. My friend, this is Ashley Stahl. I'm your host, and you are in the right place if you're ready to create a business, a career, a personal brand, or just a life that you're so proud of. And every single week, we want to support you by bringing you PhDs, subject matter experts, psychology practitioners, business leaders, all here on the show to elevate your success in business and also in life so that you can leave the legacy, you can amplify your authority, and you can really skyrocket the amount of opportunities you're creating for yourself in your career, whether you're corporate or you're a business owner. And if you are new here, again, my name is Ashley Stahl. I'm an international bestselling author of the book U-Turn, Get Unstuck, Discover Your Direction, Design Your Dream Career. And most importantly, I'm the CEO and founder of Wise Whisper Agency. I'm a top 100 TEDx speaker on the internet, and I was so inspired to create Wise Whisper and help clients craft their signature talk. We've helped hundreds of clients craft their talk, and we've also helped so many of them land spots on some of the biggest stages in the world, including the TED and TEDx stage. And so I am here on a mission to help every changemaker I know impact millions. Also, before we get into this episode, shout out to our friend Andy B. Mackin, the artist that has gifted us this sick new music for the podcast. Let's get into this week's episode. All right, U-Turn friends, you know how much I freaking love the love category of the U-Turn podcast, usually because I'm trying to figure out my own love life. And God bless these guests who come on and let me be the sacrificial lamb of sharing my love life and hoping that there's something in that for everybody. And who better to bring on than Jill Sherer Murray? She's an author, she's a speaker, she's a communications expert. And she really helps women let go of what's keeping them stuck so that they can become unstoppable. She has a super viral TEDx talk about love. And there's just so much she's done in the love and self-development space. Incredible writer. And I met Jill forever ago, I think at a speaking workshop. And I think this has to be our second time on the U-Turn podcast. So
I think
thanks
it
for coming
is.
back.
I think it is. I loved the first time. Was so fun. Was so fun. And I'm happy to talk to you any day, anytime, Ashley.
Oh, you too. Well, okay, so you've helped so many people with love. What do you think is the one thing, if you had to distill it down, is like the biggest pain point for people when it comes to being happy in their love lives?
They aren't happy with themselves.
Mm.
They don't have the thing that I think they struggle with most in their love lives per se is it depends where people are. Like they can't find the right person. Dating is painful. They're stuck in a relationship that's not giving them everything that they want, but they're afraid to leave it. That is a really big one. Or they're afraid to kind of speak up for themselves and to they're afraid if they aren't perfect or if they don't say the right thing or if they don't, frame what they need in just the right way, their partner is going to react poorly or leave, and then they're going to be alone again. So I think people struggle a lot with communication. I think women especially, we struggle with, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to do the wrong thing. I think there's a misperception that you have to do everything right in a relationship to be loved. And that is just not true. Just not true. And so much of that, like Ashley, after my talk, when so many women came to me and they wanted to know more about they asked me the same questions about letting go and love. And they talked all about their partners, and they very rarely talked about them and their needs. Well, my partner XYZ, but my partner likes this, but my partner this and this, but then he said this and she did that. And it's always an other focus instead of, are you getting what you need to be happy in that relationship? And if you're not, what are you doing to communicate around that with your partner to get what you need from that relationship? And if you're not, then maybe it's time to either let go of it or look more deeply inside of yourself to understand why you can't ask for the things that you need. And one of the common denominators from everybody that I talked to was that they lacked the self-love and the confidence to be able to rise to that occasion. They were too afraid. And sometimes, Ashley, I think that is either we feel like we don't deserve the love, or we're just so lucky to have someone that will take whatever we can get. And that's why I wrote a book, my book, Big Wild Love. And I wrote that because the big wild love piece is the self-love piece. It's the piece that gives us the courage to do what we need to do in a relationship, to either ask for what we need and give our partners an opportunity to rise to the occasion, or move along and be okay with that. I know that's a long-winded answer.
No, it's so good to hear about it. And I think the thing is that, I was talking to my partner about this a lot, actually. He and I were talking about how, that baseline of like, it's really hard to accept somebody else when you don't accept yourself. If you're hard on yourself, you're going to be hard on somebody else. And
Correct.
so I think what you're sharing about it being kind of that inside job where you got to be happy with yourself is so much more key than people might realize on the outside, because it's not just be happy with yourself so that you're not looking for somebody else to make you happy, but it's if you're not happy with yourself, you're probably going to be hard on somebody else. Like if that's the norm that you're working through with yourself.
Right.
And sometimes people idealize other people because they're not happy with it. We do a lot of things that are not who we truly are when we're not happy with ourselves. I also think we live in a world where swipe culture has put people into perfectionism. If you're not 6'1" with over 250K income or whatever it is that you're looking for, now I could just keep swiping. Or there's also, this seems to be this lack of space for really getting to know someone. And there's like this rush. So yeah, take me back to the basics of like somebody who's listening right now and they're not feeling happy or safe. And it's not like they're unsafe in their relationship, but they just don't feel emotional safety. I think a lot of people struggle with emotional safety in partnership. How do you recommend people start to think differently about emotional safety, especially when at the end of the day, saying that you're going to spend your life with somebody, it's kind of like Byron Katie's work. She says, I love you until I don't, right?
Well, and she also says, is it true?
Yeah.
That's always a question that always stuck with me from her, which is it true? Like, not to diminish a real sense of danger, especially like abuse or physical violence or any of that stuff, like not talking about that, talking about, do I feel emotionally unsafe in the sense that I cannot express myself? I cannot be my true self. And I think, first we have to ask that question. Where is that coming from? Is that coming from outside the house or inside the house? Right? Because, I had a conversation actually today with someone who was talking about sort of how she was feeling like her partner wasn't emotionally deep enough for her, wasn't giving her enough real feelings. And she was struggling. She was getting angry about it. And it's like, it wasn't that she didn't feel safe. She just didn't feel like she was getting enough. She wasn't getting enough. And she did feel like, because she's so emotional, I think sometimes as women, we feel like that's a really bad thing. And maybe that's where we hold back our emotions, because we are, again, afraid if we are all of ourselves, then that other person will be put off and leave, or in some way reject us. And so, there has to be a real reckoning of, is this something that is really true? Or is that this coming from someplace inside of me, an insecurity, a limiting belief, an old wound, that I am projecting this lack of safety, when really my partner is imperfect like I am, and just trying to figure out, their own trauma, their own limiting beliefs, their own wounded whatever. And so it's really more of a conversation that needs to be had a communications pathway that needs to be open over and over, because a lot of times you can't just have that conversation once. A lot of times in relationship, we often have the same issues that come up over and over and over. And a really good relationship is two people willing to work through them together and to create that safe space together and to speak about things. I just had this conversation today from a loving place, even if you are angry or upset or feeling a certain way, is, projecting back. Listen, I know you probably don't mean to do this. You may not even be aware that I feel this way as a result of, but I'd love to be able to have the conversation about XYZ. And can we do that? And understanding too, that not everybody receives information like we do. So, I think like a lot of women, I know me, I can talk through things in that moment. I don't need a lot of space and time to process, but I think men need more time to process around emotions and feelings and things. So it's being able to say, you don't have to have that conversation with me right now. You can think about it and let's come back. And when you've had a time to process, let's talk about it, because I'm feeling like I can't really be myself. I can't express XYZ because then, there will be consequences for that.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of fear of like sharing what's true for you that people have come up for them. And a lot of people, I think, believe that if they do share what's true, and I think you kind of touched on this, that the other person may not even be able to really hold them, meet them, see them in that. And then it kind of starts to feel like, what's even the point of bringing this up if the person can't help me see it? So I don't know. I think a lot of people are stuck in patterns in their relationships. They're stuck in
absolutely.
How do we break the loop? How does somebody listening that maybe they're thinking about their husband, their wife, significant other, and they're thinking, wow, I've been so stuck and there's no point of bringing this up, but I need what I need and I need to bring it up again. What are some things you would share with people from a communication perspective to potentially support them in getting more success in moving something forward?
Well, first, I think if it was really bad, I would go to a therapist. I would get, really true help and advice if it was really bad. I think first it's about really truly understanding ourselves. What is the issue? Is it the partner's behavior, the partner's lack of XYZ, or is it something inside of us that we're trying to seek or resolve through that relationship in some way? So really, what is it that we need that we're not getting, and getting very clear about that? Because I do think sometimes we think we need certain things from a relationship when really it's just our own insecurities. We don't really need that from another person. That's something we should be able to do for ourselves. What is an example of that? I'm trying to think of a good example of that. Like, if we get our this is a really superficial one, but like if we get our hair done, or we do something different about our physical appearance and we're upset, we feel like we're not being seen, or our partner never says anything. Like, why do we need that external validation? Sure, it's nice, but do we really need it? So it's really getting crystal clear about, what is the issue for us? And then I think it's going back to that person. And again, not coming at it from a place of anger, but a place of, look, I love you. Our relationship is very important to me. I'm sure that you would never want to make me feel this way or do something that would be hurtful or whatever. But I want to talk about sort of some feelings that I'm having. And I'm trying to work through them, but I want us to be able to work through these things together. And I'm certainly open to hearing, how you feel about what I'm saying and where you sit on this issue. But I think we need to be able to have these conversations so that we can have a strong relationship. And it's not coming at it with an accusatory or in tears or from a place of, anything that would, like, I think people receive that very differently. It has to be a place of clarity and calm and love. And I know that sounds super Pollyanna, but I think that's the way it happens. And, communications, as a communications person for the last however many years of my life, is all about repetition. So that's a conversation. Those are, people do have patterns. Ashley, you're right. And I think it's coming at those patterns together and making the agreement to work through them together.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's love and that you both want the same thing. You also both need to want the same thing in order for that to work. And I will say, I think that in some ways has become a little bit more precarious, given what you mentioned earlier, which is like how easy it is to swipe. It's too easy to walk away. There's too many other opportunities, options. It's too easy to just for some people, not for everybody, but for some people, just to say, I'm just going to get back on the dating apps and I'll just find something easier. In which case, okay, goodbye. Like that's your answer, right? But I think it always has to be a conversation couched and framed in love and not anger and a place of high emotion and charge.
I feel like that's so hard because when somebody says something to someone else and maybe the thing that the person said doesn't land well, you can see it all over your face, right? Like, especially between intimate partners, it's like somebody throws a volleyball over and the other person feels like there's flames on it and it's all over their face. Sounds like what you're saying is don't strike when the iron's hot. Don't talk when you're activated and you're not in the love and you're in the againstness. That's not an effective time to communicate, which I would agree with. The thing that I think a lot of people probably struggle with is in that little tiny moment where their partner looks at them and says, what's wrong? And the answer is everything. They're not feeling so good, but they're not in the love. So how do you suggest somebody set the relationship up for that when that could be so tempting to just go right on into Mr. Toad's wild ride and start getting in the combo versus being effective?
I mean, I think it's, I really appreciate you asking the question. And I do have some things on my mind and I would love to talk to you about them. I would love to put my thoughts together in a better way. And maybe we could have a conversation about it. Maybe we could go for a walk and have a conversation, or maybe we could go out to dinner, or maybe we can set aside some time where I can put my thoughts together in a cohesive, calm way. But I want you to also know that I love you. And it's not like I'm going to sit and like beat you up for an hour or whatever. I want us to just have a conversation that will hopefully make our relationship better, or at least make me feel better about some things. But I also don't want you to stress about it or worry that it's going to be me saying, okay, I'm out of here. Like, it's coming from a place of wanting to make things better. And if that person is like, well, tell me now, because now you can't leave me hanging on this, then it's really that person having to take a deeper breath and say, okay, here are some things that I am feeling right now, and putting themselves in that space where they know, if I come out of the gate like a bull, what is that going to get me? What is the outcome that I am seeking? Letting that inform the behavior in that moment. If I want my partner to truly listen to me, I can't start being accusatory, because that's the end of the conversation. That person is going to shut down immediately. So how do I get where I need to go, knowing this person really well? Like, I know my husband needs time to process information from me. I know if I come at him like a bulldog, that's not going to go well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have come to know how I need to communicate with that person. Mm-hmm. So it's really thinking about, as these feelings come up, and not letting them linger either. When they come up, like, address it, but address it from a place of love and, understanding that everybody has a different way of communicating and everybody has a different way of receiving information. And there's nothing wrong with having to negotiate that in a relationship. There's nothing wrong with having to think about how you frame a conversation with your partner. You can't just barrel out of the gate and expect somebody to be okay with that. That's not
a really important piece, because some people don't want to have to frame it. They don't want to have to do the emotional labor to position something. But ultimately, I would imagine the data indicates that people don't communicate with proper packaging, that's going to kill their marriage or their relationship because
Well, that's right.
we are sensitive souls.
We're humans. You know, I don't want my husband to come to me in a fit of rage, angry about something. If he has an issue with me, that's fine. I am incredibly imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
Come to me and talk to me about it, but know who I am and how I receive information and how I like to be talked to.
Mm-hmm.
I do not ever expect my husband to have any kind of response when I have an issue. I know him
Mm-hmm.
well enough that when I go to talk to him about something, I know to say, I just want you to think about this. I love you. I'm sure you don't even realize you're doing it, but I need to share it with you because it's upsetting for me. And then I let him take his time to process it and then come back to me. And usually what he'll do is he'll come back to me and say, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I was doing that. And I'm glad that you brought attention to it for me. But if I came at him and said, man, whenever we're with so-and-so, you get super nasty, and I'm not saying he does that, but like, he would be like, what are you talking about? And that would be a fight. That would be a fight. That would not be productive. Now, I might ultimately get there, but that wouldn't be pleasant. So I think it's really having clarity around what's bothering you, understanding how your partner works and communicates and receives information, and framing it in that way for them so that you can get to an outcome that you want. So there is emotional work that needs to be done. And if you are not ready or prepared to do that kind of emotional work, then I think you need to take a step back and say, maybe now is not the right time for me to be in a relationship. Maybe I need to do some more inner work to be able to, communicate in a healthy way with a partner, knowing that no relationship will ever be perfect. There will always be, conflicts and things along the way.
I think that another thing, when I listen to you talk about this, is that a lot of people are going to have worthiness issues come up, right? Like when their partner brings something to them, they're going to make it mean something about them, about how valuable they are, or that something's wrong with them. There's something deficient about them. How do we help people take the information at hand without making it into something that, you know, damages their self-esteem?
And so that's the piece that I opened with, which is the big wild love piece. That's the cultivation of self-love, of having that understanding of who you are and what motivates you and what's important for you, and knowing that you deserve love. It's looking at the limiting beliefs that you have acquired in childhood and in the dating process and kind of smacking them down, working your way through them so that when you are in a relationship, you do have the courage and the confidence that you need to be able to have these kinds of conversations, because you know that you are worthy of a healthy conversation, of a healthy relationship, of a healthy partner, and you know how to go about getting that. And you know that if that relationship is not healthy, in the sense that you can't talk to your partner, you can't navigate and negotiate these conversations, that it's okay to move on because you deserve an equal partner that way. That's the work. That's the work that I think so many people don't do before they go into a relationship. And then they struggle to have these relationships. So I know a lot of people, Ashley, who are very happily married. As they've gotten older, they've found partners where they can have these relationships because they have fully developed themselves. They have worked through their traumas. They've worked through those limiting beliefs. And it's not like we have limiting beliefs and then we figure them out and we're done. If we leave the house, we'll have more limiting beliefs. I can't tell you how many limiting beliefs, new ones I have acquired since COVID, as I'm aging, as life changes and we move into different areas. We keep getting them. So we need to be very close to ourselves. And we need to do that work in service of cultivating the big wild love that I write about, that allows us to always have the courage and the confidence to have hard conversations or walk away knowing that we deserve the things that we want, and knowing that the things that we want are not just possible, but they're also realistic. They're not ridiculous. They're not overinflated, which is just another form of self-sabotage. And that's self-sabotage happens when you don't have big wild love, when you don't think enough of yourself, when you don't have the courage and confidence to know that you are worthy of certain things and that certain things are possible for you. But you've got to participate. You've got to participate in a healthy way. And that means doing your work first. It's hard work, but it's good work.
Yeah. And I think that you're bringing up a question where it's like, how long, or how do we know when it's good work versus it's just work, right? Like, too many people, like, there's such a big difference between effort and work, right? Like, there's a lot of relationships that deserve our effort. But sometimes I've seen relationships where it's like, all this is work. Like, this is not working, right? And I see that on friends sometimes. I see it in myself. How do you decide when the love is good for your growth and when it's toxic for your growth? Not because it's a toxic relationship, but because it's just not actually adding to who you want to become.
Well, first of all, I am of the belief that we know. I think we know. I will say we feel it in our bodies. So if we're working really hard at something and it's not working, and we know that we're giving it our all, I think we feel a sense of malaise, a sense of there's something off. Maybe we're getting colds all the time. Maybe we're just feeling tired a lot. Maybe I think it shows up in our body. But I also really believe, Ashley, that we know. And I think what stops us from acting on that knowledge, meaning walking away, is all the other stuff, is all of the limiting stuff. Okay, well, I'm not going to get what I need here, but I'm X age and I have someone and dating is really hard and it's good enough and he's got good qualities or she's got good qualities, or this is my second marriage. Oh my God, I can't get divorced again. That would be terrible. Or this is the best I can do. There's nobody else out there for me. Or maybe there is, but I'm too tired. I just don't want to deal with it. I know this thing. It's not great, but it's not awful. It's known. I'm just going to stick it out. I will tell you the story that I told in the lead into my TEDx talk and that I talk about in my book with my ex of 12 years. I wanted to get married and he didn't. That was it. It was that simple. But you know what? It really wasn't. And I stayed for 12 years. And I knew in year 5 that he was never going to marry me. I knew. But I didn't want to admit it to myself, because if I admitted it or said it out loud, I would have to actually do something about it. And I was not ready. I was not ready to be alone. I was not ready to admit that I had overstayed my welcome. I was not ready to lose this lovely person who was wonderful and I loved and just didn't want what I wanted. I was all too willing to forego my own dreams and desires because I didn't want to lose him and I didn't want to be alone. But I was also resentful. And I just continued to push that down. What happens when we do that, though, is that's like a beach ball.
Yeah.
You can't keep it down forever. Eventually, it like finds its way up through the windpipe and you got to deal with it. But I knew. And I think if I think back to any relationship I've ever had where I've wanted it to be something that it never was and never would be, I knew. But it was my own fears and my own limitations that kept me there. And I say that with great love and no judgment, because we all we all come from somewhere, and we are all bringing beliefs about who we are and what we deserve and what is possible for us to every scenario in our life, not just our love relationships, but to our jobs and to our own self-care and health and well-being and our friendships and our problem solving and, where we choose to live and how we choose to build family. Like, we are bringing all of that to those things. And I think that's why I gave a talk about letting go. I wanted to write a book about letting go, but my book had to be about this first, because if you don't have the big wild love, which is the self-love to give you the courage and confidence to walk away if you need to, you will never do it. And you will stay stuck in those relationships, or you will be in a good relationship, but unable to communicate or express yourself or get what you need from it because you're too afraid and believing that perhaps you're not worthy of that kind of attention. So that's the work. That's the building block, foundational work of a healthy relationship, is do the work. And when it feels bad, when you feel like you're cycling and not getting anywhere over time, go deep into that place and be honest with yourself. Is it work that is getting you somewhere, that makes you feel good as you go through it? Do you have that person, aligned with you? Or is it just, I'm doing the work because I have to do the work, but I'm not getting where I need to go. And I can see down the path, I'm not going to get there. And find the inner reserve to be able to take the action you need to take. Because it's really never about the other person. It's always about us.
Yeah, it's so true. It's such a fine line between good work that brings you forward and work that's actually just taking you out of who you really are and what you really want. And
That's it.
I love what you said, like you already know if things are good for you. And that's what anxiety is a lot of the times, is it's ignoring what we know. Because a lot of the times the truth is just kind of sad, like if we don't like the news, but it's not anxious. It's just this grounded, sad, like, oh, that's makes me so sad. The anxiety is the
Right.
resistance.
That's right. I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. That's very insightful. For sure.
So what have I not asked you about love before we go that we can impart for everybody to have a better relationship?
Well, oh gosh, that's a good question. That's a question I always ask my sources. What do I need to ask you that I don't already know? I mean, I think it sounds so like woo-wooey to say love yourself first. But doing that work is so important because it really does set you up for success. And so I would say, if you're in a relationship and you're just not getting what you need, or you're not sure where it's going to go, maybe I'm a huge fan of morning pages. Like, I'm a huge fan of journaling, but like, I love the whole idea of just stream of conscious writing. Like, if I have a question, am I getting what I need from this relationship? Is this relationship right for me? Is this about me, or is this about the other person? Am I ready for healthy love? Maybe it's like, excuse me, I have allergies are bad. If this is what you want, maybe it's make a list of what you want in a relationship, and it's not about, how someone looks or how much, money they make. It's really about, how do you want to feel in a relationship? Maybe write that down, and then write down how you do feel in your actual relationship. And make sure those two things line up. And if they don't line up, then it's a journal exercise of, what do you need to do in your unique situation to get from point A to point B? And that's doing that stream of writing, front, back, front, every day for 2 weeks, and let the answers come through you, because they're in there. We just don't always want to look at them or tap into them, but it's an alignment of your conscious mind and your subconscious. if you're hurt by this one relationship and I'm just never going to give over anymore and protect myself, and I'm just going to date people that are never going to give me that depth because I'm in self-protection mode. But your conscious mind is like, but I want a deep relationship. Why isn't that happening? They gotta align up. They gotta line up together. They gotta work together. So if you're not finding it, there's a reason inside of you that you might be making the choices you're making or holding back in some way. And so do that exploratory work. Write down what you want and what you've got. What's the bridge and how do you cross it?
Where can everybody find you if they want to keep learning?
They can find me at JillShererMurray.com. Yeah. Perfect. And they can find me on Facebook at Let Go For It and Instagram at Let Go For It.
Thanks again, Jill, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ashley.
Thanks for tuning in to the U-Turn podcast. I hope you learned so much in this episode and you're putting it into action today. We would love to hear from you. Slide into my DMs at Ashley Stahl or leave a written review if you're inspired. It would mean so much to us. Be sure to subscribe to the show because, as you know, the more subscribers we get, the better the guests we can bring you. And in the meantime, if you're looking to skyrocket your personal brand and impact millions,
head on over to wisewhisperagency.com to learn more about how we can help you craft your greatest talk of your life, how we can help you get booked on some of the biggest stages in the world, even the TED or TEDx stage. We'd love to hear from you, and that's it for this week.
Trying to solve, always think you know it. I've been thinking about you up against that wall. It's too late, I fell on every fall. Holding ground on hers. I'm holding ground on hers. Holding ground on hers. Late night drive, what you trying to do tonight? I swear you don't even try. Yeah, you still try and make you mine, but I don't think you like guys. I don't think you like guys. I don't think I should try. I guess it's time to give up, but I don't wanna give up, give up, give up. No, 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 no. Scrolling through my phone today, I saw a photo of you. Really thought that I deleted all the photos of you. Forgot how it felt just to be normal with you. Forgot how I felt till I saw you. What you trying to do tonight? I swear you don't even try. Yeah, you still stupid fine. Wish I can try and make you mine, but I don't think you like guys. Space night drive. What you trying to do tonight?